Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Playmore69, aka Michael, and this is the On All Podcast, episode 9. Welcome back to the show, everyone. I had a little bit of a break, at least. The schedule was still normal on the podcast, but at least for the past 2 episodes of the Kyle Rittenhouse, episode 7 and 8 were both about that. And, I had a little bit of a break. I had about a week and a half off from the podcast, so it's definitely good to be back. I basically recorded those back to back because I recorded my thoughts about Kyle Rittenhouse and the trial, and then literally the next day I ran into John and he said he wanted to do the podcast with me, but I already filmed that episode, so I basically filmed that back to back and basically sat on that recording until I uploaded it, and then I had a good week and a half off from the podcast, but I did gather some topics that were quite interesting. And these topics include the VShojo and Nux drama. This is quite interesting. I thought I would kind of talk about it just because at least I am familiar with VShojo because of Nanners, and that's really to do with her video being like the most viewed video I've ever had on my channel. It has like over 150,000 views. It's just the clip of her singing Say So on her 1 million subscriber stream, and that's ultimately what pushed me over the 1,000 subscriber mark on my channel. My channel was slowly dying, as I mentioned. I think it was like episode 1 of the podcast that my channel was slowly dying, but that video really brought the channel back. It has like over 150,000 views. It gained me like 300 subscribers, so I thought I would really talk about that drama. I'm not really interested so much in the drama. I'm really interested in the result of it. It just seems quite weird, but I will explain that. Another topic is Ludwig moving from Twitch to YouTube. Personally, I think this is just a massive loss for Twitch, but I will get into that one soon. And the final topic is I will cover the YouTube's removing dislike button again. This is really because mainly the last batch of people that actually still had dislikes should have had them removed by the 1st of December. At least I know mine was. I was in that last group of people. But let's get right into it. So the first topic, the VShojo and Nux drama. This is quite an interesting case, at least. It really just doesn't make any sense. When you look at it on the surface, there might be more details that we do not know about, but at least looking at it from the surface like this, I will explain it out. So basically Nux, he's a person that a lot of times collaborates with VShojo, and VShojo is a VTuber assortment of VTubers that basically are together, and they're just a collection of VTubers, basically a VTubing group, and Nanners is a co-founder of them. And VShojo is something that I think was formed around last year. It's been over a year now they've been formed, and they've been growing in popularity ever since, and popular YouTubers like Nux has also done collaborations with them, so obviously they're very close, at least on the YouTube sense. And Nux was going to cover really a situation that VTubers and, well, a lot of YouTubers deal with, and it's doxing. So if you don't know what doxing is, it's basically just people online trying to steal online creators' information or expose online creators, where they live, information about them, their name, their personal address, anything like that. And while this might seem quite harmless, privacy is very important, first off, but knowing someone's information is not that harmful, but actually doing something with that information is the harmful act, obviously. And what really comes from doxing a lot is swatting. And swatting is something that could happen to really anyone. This is basically where someone who knows the information of a YouTuber's like house or Twitch streamer's house, whatever, will basically call their local police and say that, they did something crazy like murder someone or have hostages in the house. So basically a SWAT team will be sent to their house, and there has been events in the past where that creator or a certain creator that has had the SWAT team or local police sent to their house actually died. So it's a really important situation that, this is covered, exposing these doxers and, getting them away from these people, especially VTubers. Usually a lot of people who start VTubing is to kind of protect their privacy. And, it's actually quite funny because when you look at like YouTubers and doxing and all that, it's like the YouTubers that are most likely to get doxed or are very susceptible to being doxed are actually people who do not like show their face on the internet. Like certain YouTubers that come to mind are like Dream or Corpse, for instance. Those are YouTubers that, have really never publicly showed their face on YouTube, but are very susceptible to actually being doxed. So actually getting back to Nux here, he was going to do a video on doxers of VTubers. So basically there's this group of people or just individuals out there that want to actually dox VTubers, and he was going to do an entire video of it, basically a deep dive into these doxers, exposing them, trying to stop them from doing that because they have been successful in the past to certain VTubers, and they were actually sending scams out to VShojo's VTubers, and I don't think they were successful, but they were at least attempting those actions. So, Nux decided to do a video on this, which I thought would be quite good because I really do like videos like this that kind of expose like these bad people on the internet. But these videos have to be done right. So I mean by that is like involving law enforcement. Like Nux, at least from what he said, he sat on this video for like over a month or two, because he wanted to make sure, all the right people were called. All of this was dealt with before the actual video was released, which I find, quite admirable. He didn't just want to upload it the day he had it because, or else, well, he would just get views on it. It's that simple. But he actually sat on it. He did the right thing. And he even went a step further and confirmed with all the VShojo VTubers and their higher ups that, hey, is this video good? VShojo and all the VTubers themselves that were in the video actually pre-watched it before the video was uploaded, and VShojo and a couple of the VTubers had like suggestions for things to cut out, and he actually did. He cut a couple things out, he blurred a couple things, and everything seemed great. Up to that point he did everything necessary. He sat on it for 2 months, made sure everything was dealt with, made sure the actual situation blown over. He all the VTubers that were in it and VShojo themselves, the higher ups, were able to watch it and also released a statement along with it. So everything looked completely normal when he actually uploaded the video, on the surface. And to me, it's a great thing because he did everything right. He confirmed with the people that were in the video that, hey, is this okay to upload? They said yes. He sat on it for a couple months, made sure the situation was fully dealt with. That made a lot of sense. And he uploaded it, a video that I hope would get many views because it draws attention to a bad situation. Kind of like other YouTubers that I do enjoy, like that expose scammers, like, online scammers. Like that is really good, a really good video to upload because it's exposing bad people. Same thing with like other YouTubers that expose Discord pedophiles in the right way by actually involving law enforcement and getting them arrested. All of these are really good videos and really show the power of the internet and the impact it could have. But about a little bit after the video was uploaded, Nanners herself came out and said bad things about the video and Nux himself, about him kind of exposing their information, even though there was none in the video. The video has been taken down, so you can probably find re-uploads of it, but Nux does not have it on his channel anymore. And basically saying that, she didn't want the video uploaded. even though he had the green light from VShojo and all the VTubers that were in it, that, hey, you know, it was okay to upload. And then Project Melody chimed in and said, Nux actually exposed their personal information and is putting them in danger. And looking at all of this really did not make a lot of sense to me, because he was trying to do a good thing, you know, for people he collabed with. He collaborates with a lot of VShojo VTubers. You know, not so much anymore, obviously. Don't expect to see that, but, you know, to me, he was doing quite a good thing. But it seems like, I don't know, ego almost got in the way of it. I don't know. I can't really put a pen on like what really happened. I mean, this behavior from Nanners is not new. I've actually, you know, known of Nanners for about over a decade now. So, this to me is not like crazy to hear from what she has done. I'll actually give an example story. So, for those of you who don't know about Nanners, she did like this for over a decade on YouTube, was basically a cover artist, basically covered songs, which, you know, were pretty funny. They're pretty comical. But she had a couple, at least songs that she did by herself that were self-written. She had one like a decade ago called Poom Poom, which was basically a song that was a parody of like lollies in anime and hentai. It was quite funny. It was a laugh, you know. It was whatever. But a couple years after uploading it, she actually deleted it and then called all of her fans who liked it pedophiles. You know, she publicly said this. So, I mean, again, that was like a couple years' time. So, you know, I'm not fully equating it to this situation, but it really does. I think Nanner's opinions on certain things changes really fast, and it changes very radically. You know, it changes from one side to the other like black and white. It's not just like on the fence about something. It's just like total black and white. Like, oh, I liked this, now I don't. So, I mean, that was really the situation in essence. It was just like quite interesting though that, you know, Nux was trying to do a good thing. In my opinion, he did. But it seems like Nanners and Project Melody just kind of said like, hey, you know, we don't like this. Like, for some reason you're doing a good thing, but, you know, we don't like that you're doing this good thing. You know, exposing doxers that are trying to dox us, you know. I maybe there's more details that we will never know. Again, like with these internet situations, there's always private information that we will never know 100%. So there was probably some things behind the scenes we'll never know. But at least on the surface, Nux was trying to do a good thing, and it seems like Nanners and Project Melody kind of stopped that. But if you want to read more about this drama, I will leave a Reddit post actually compiling a lot of the good information about this drama. And also, if you want to watch like videos on this drama, there's actually like some really good YouTube videos. If you just search up VShojo and Nux drama, you can find some really good videos that, you know, fully go in depth and explaining every little thing. But I mean, this is just like the short version in essence. But yeah, I really felt like talking about it because, well, it involved Nanners, and she's the highest viewed video on my channel, and probably will be the highest viewed video on my channel for the coming years. I mean, unless it gets removed somehow. But yeah, it was just a weird situation to see. But in other news, probably like probably the biggest internet news of the entire week, in my opinion, was Ludwig moving from Twitch to YouTube. This really shocked me, to be honest. I don't know how Twitch could let this happen. Why did they let Ludwig go? He literally has the record for the most subscribers on Twitch, or, well, he did have on Twitch. And, you know, because he did the subathon, all that, he broke Ninja's record. He made Twitch the most money by any streamer in a 1 month period because got them the most subscribers. And he did a lot for Twitch. I mean, he was a really good streamer. He never really had much controversy. He, did the subathon, which made them a ton of money. I would think that, hey, they would want to keep this guy. But ended up he went with YouTube. And I think the shocking thing in this situation is Twitch didn't fight for him. And it's quite interesting to think about because TimTheTatman, who is another big Twitch streamer, just left Twitch a couple months ago, went to YouTube. And he was their 7th highest earner. And to me, that was a pretty big hit for Twitch. It was like, whoa, you just lost one of your top 10 highest earners. TimTheTatman was a big Twitch streamer. A lot of people knew about him. And I was like, okay, well, maybe they thought, he was declining or something, or they were just like, hey, we can let him walk. We're not going to pay him that much that he wants, whatever. But Ludwig, I think that, with the subathon and everything he had and everything he was doing with Twitch, it was like he was doing some big things. He wasn't just a random streamer. He was doing game shows on the side. He was doing, not only just reactionary videos, he was also doing like in real life videos and like, shit camp and all these other things. And it was just like, he was doing a lot of things and collaborating with streamers. He was a big influence on Twitch, and it really made no sense to lose him, but they just let him walk. And to me, it shows a big vulnerability with Twitch, because if they are so lenient with letting their top 10 Twitch earners just walk, I mean, what does it really say with like, YouTube wanting XQC or someone like that? Because Twitch, or at least people were calling YouTube the face of Twitch, which I don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, he's definitely a face of Twitch, but I would say the face of Twitch is XQC. XQC is the number 2 earner, but he should be number 1. And, well, he's the number 1 individual creator by far. And he holds like, 70,000 viewers consecutively. And that's him doing literally whatever. Like, he could literally just be reacting, playing Mario Party, playing GTA RP. He could literally be doing anything, and he holds like consistently 70,000 viewers. And Ludwig would hold consistently 10 or 20,000, which is very impressive still. But XQC is the true face of Twitch. But let's say if YouTube wanted XQC, like, I would think Twitch would fight for him. But if they didn't fight for Ludwig, who is number 6 earner, what's stopping them from not fighting from XQC? Like, to me, it's either a capital problem, like they just don't have the money, which sounds hard to believe because, again, they're owned by Amazon, and Amazon could, give them a little more money if they want them to survive. But I really do not understand that situation, like, whatsoever. But at the end of the day, Twitch really just needs to fight for their Twitch streamers. I mean, I don't think that is, a weird thing to say. They just really need to fight for them. Even if they thought, Ludwig was like declining, he's never going to be what he was during the subathon, which I don't believe that whatsoever. He actually said he was actually going to do another subathon in December, because Ludwig's actually saving up for expensive projects to do, like a $1 million Smash tournament. And he needed to raise another $1 million, and he's like, oh, I might have to do another subathon. But obviously he's not with Twitch anymore, so he won't be doing that. But hopefully he can make that money somehow, at least through YouTube or, whatever else he's doing now. I think he will, honestly. I think that YouTube, I'm guessing them after that they saw like the subathon and how much money they made Twitch, I'm assuming YouTube is paying Ludwig a really good amount. And not only that, you have to think about the memberships he's getting from his YouTube channel, all his new YouTube views, because I'm assuming he'll get a boost from views in this because he was literally in like, a lot of news stories and stuff. And also the launch of his new channel, Mogul Mail, which I'm actually quite interested in. I hope he actually makes more Mogul Mail videos. I thought those were quite interesting and quite unique in a way. But yeah, he's got a lot of channels now, and he with the new YouTube contract, I'm assuming he's making a good amount. But Twitch really needs to fight for their Twitch streamers. I don't understand it, they need to do whatever they can to keep them, because I don't want to say Twitch is dying, but if you lose two of your top 10 earners in the span of a couple months, I don't think that sets a good precedent for the future. And it was actually quite funny too, because Ludwig, in his first YouTube stream, actually, it was a Q&A stream, which was quite interesting. And he answered questions like, if he couldn't answer them, he would get shot with a paintball gun that chat controls, which I thought was quite interesting. But he was asked this question that really stuck with me, because he said, like, what the question was, like, what other Twitch streamers will be leaving for YouTube in the future that you know of? And obviously he can't answer that through contractual reasons and, legal reasons. He can't answer that. But he did say, like, I know of a lot of them. He said something like that. He definitely knows of Twitch streamers that will be leaving for YouTube in the future or the near future. Because whenever their Twitch contract runs out, they'll sign with YouTube. And I think there will be a lot of big Twitch streamers going to YouTube. I think that what we have seen from, like, TimTheTatman going to YouTube and being quite successful, and now Ludwig going to YouTube, and at least for his first 3 streams, he's done 3 so far. He actually got his 3rd stream taken down from playing Baby Shark for 2 seconds too long. That was quite funny. But yeah, I think Ludwig so far on YouTube, he's only been there for 3 days, but he's held consistently 40,000 viewers on his 3 streams I've seen. I haven't really watched many of them or watched much of them, but if he's holding 40,000 views consecutively, on his first 3 streams, that's pretty good. And we have to remember that YouTube's views are kind of inflated in a way, because, well, they're not inflated, but they're going to be bigger than Twitch because YouTube is much bigger than Twitch. So even the fact that Ludwig really has the same amount of people that know him, it's not like he had 1 million new subscribers because he moved over to YouTube. It's just that YouTube has a lot more viewers. So that's why he'll have a lot more views. Instead of holding like 10 to 20,000, he's been holding like 40 to 50,000, which is really good. He's getting, a lot of new memberships, and, YouTube is being quite successful for him. And I think a lot of other Twitch streamers are seeing that, saying like, hey, I could make the switch to YouTube, and not only will I be making either similar or better money, I could also be getting more views, and it would be growing my YouTube channel, which is ultimately paying for, videos. Well, I'm making money off of those, videos I post on my YouTube channel. So the more videos, they have on their YouTube channel, and the more views they have, they'll be making a better source of income. So why not put that all in one place instead of spreading it out like to Twitch and, other things like that. So personally, I think a lot of Twitch streamers are seeing that, and it might be the idea for the future, it seems. And I guess on the topic of YouTube, that brings me into the next topic, which is the at least final removal of the YouTube dislikes. And I sadly was one of the last people to be hit by the YouTube dislikes being removed. Now, apparently, from what I hear, at least screenshots on Reddit that I've seen, that there might be a very small number of people that still have YouTube dislikes, but at least from what I have seen everywhere, that by November 30th or December 1st, so around that time, YouTube dislikes were basically removed for everyone. So they were doing it in like sections. So, a certain number of people would be removed like the first week, and then a certain number the next week, and then the last batch was the end of November. And I really don't think YouTube will ever be the same. Like, it's only been like 2 days now since I haven't had dislikes, and it feels so weird. Like, I absolutely hate it. It just feels, it doesn't feel like a different website, but it just doesn't feel the same. It just feels like a fever dream, like a bad update that never should have happened. It's like a bad update for a game that you wish you could just uninstall and just play the old version. Like that's what these YouTube dislikes being removed are. And it's already hurt me too, because it's like every time you look up a how-to video or any sort of tutorial and you click on the video, the first thing you look at is the like to dislike ratio, and you can't look at that anymore. And I really hope YouTube reconsiders. I know a lot of YouTubers have made videos saying, like, especially like Marcus Brownlee, I think he made the best video with Dear YouTube, like, hey, why are you doing this? This makes no sense. And I think there are like at least some powerful tech YouTubers, also with Marcus Brownlee. Apparently, Linus from Linus Tech Tips, who is pretty, connected within YouTube because they're a company, obviously. They have a ton of YouTube channels. They make a lot of views on a lot of their YouTube channels. They have their, like own website that they post their own videos on. So their supporters can help that. So they have a lot of influence on YouTube. And apparently, from what I've heard, is that Linus himself will actually be talking to a YouTube higher up about the YouTube dislikes being removed. Personally, I really hope YouTube overturns this, but I just do not see it. I think that they have dug their heels into the ground and they are not going to remove this whatsoever, even though it is a very dumb decision because a lot of people rely on it. And they said it's to like protect small creators. They said it was to protect small creators, but I have not heard a single small creator say that they like this. And I wish I do, because like, what do they consider a small creator? Like, I really wish I knew, because it's like, at least I consider a small creator be under 100,000 subscribers, maybe under 50,000. I don't know. I think that signifies a small creator. I mean, I don't know even if they would consider me a small creator. I don't know. Maybe you have to be a YouTube partner to be considered a creator. But yeah, it's like, which small creators did they talk to? Like that's the thing. Like, did they actually talk to people, or did they just run their little experiment and say like, hey, our experiment shows that with the dislike counter not being there, people won't use the dislike button as much. That's a win. Like, I just don't agree with that, whatsoever. I wish they actually talked to small YouTubers that actually said like, hey, yeah, I would like this removed. Like, why didn't they do that? Or why don't we hear about that? Because if we did, then it would make a lot more sense. But there are no YouTube creators that I've been able to find. And I would like to say I'm pretty well versed in YouTube, because I've been watching it for 14 years now, that I would be able to find someone on YouTube that said, hey, I like this. But I've been able to find no one. So I really think they did this for a different reason. They had ulterior motives, and I think those motives were legitimately to protect brands, because I was a little bit skeptical of that at the beginning, like I am with a lot of things. I'm not 100% like dug into like whatever like conclusion that has come to right when a situation begins. I like to hear all the facts. I like to wait a little bit before I make my final conclusion, but at least my final conclusion with YouTube and removing the dislike button or removing the dislike counter is it was legitimately to protect their corporations that are on YouTube, their ads, the news stations, anything like that, anything of those the businesses. It wasn't to protect their creators, because if they legitimately cared about the creators, they would give them more of a voice. But that's not what's on the YouTube trending page. Usually it's a lot of businesses, to promote their YouTube channels so they get subscribers and views. And, they really don't care about their small creators anymore. I really don't think they do. I doubt YouTube gives a shit about me or any other person with a couple thousand subscribers or whatever, even a couple hundred subscribers, making videos every week or every day. I really doubt they care. I have always basically believed this since 2013, 2014, when YouTube stopped using the slogan broadcast yourself. It was more of just like it became corporate at that point. That's when gaming was basically not on the YouTube homepage anymore. I think it was 2013 or 2014 when it was removed. And really ever since then, it's been like the end of the golden year of YouTube, or the golden age of YouTube. A lot of people like to say the golden age of YouTube was like 2007 to 2013, which I agree with. The first 6 years of me watching YouTube were the best. And everything after that has really not been good. It's really been going downhill. And, I think YouTube will survive, obviously, because they're just so big. But removing the dislike counter is probably the stupidest thing they've ever done. I can't think of something that they've done stupider than this. They've done a lot of stupid things in the past, but this, I think, takes the cake, at least for me. So that's about it for all the topics that I wanted to actually cover this week. We actually got done at least a lot faster than I expected, but that's good. I was able to get everything out that I say. But I also wanted to add to, at least for the podcast in the future, usually I do at the end of every podcast episode of, I give a little update of what I'm actually, planning for the future. And, I've actually, thought about the podcast and the length of it. So at least for the length of the podcast now, or when I first started episode 1, I remember saying is, I wanted this to be an hour-long show. And at least from what I found, the podcasts that I actually do with guests go on for, over an hour. They go on for like an hour and a half, almost 2 hours. And the podcasts that I do solo normally only go on for about 40 to 50 minutes. I've actually never hit an hour solo. So I'm really thinking about just kind of not shooting for the hour. Well, I guess shooting for the hour, but if I don't make it every week, it's not like a fail. And the reason I'm saying that is because, I think I find my, guest podcast a lot more entertaining. They're a lot more entertaining to listen to. That's why they go on for much longer. And my solo podcasts, they get boring after a while. It's just me talking for, me just talking for over an hour could get quite boring. I mean, unless I'm really entertaining, but I don't think I'm super entertaining. So basically, I wouldn't, if you are a listener, I wouldn't expect the solo podcast to go on for an hour. I mean, they might. I definitely think I will hit over an hour, in the future. But at least for now, I'm only shooting for, covering all my topics, minimum of 30 minutes, hopefully. But if I don't hit an hour, I won't be disappointed. I'll try to make it a 30 to an hour podcast, at least in length. And if I'm hitting, in that range, that's good. I want to have enough topics to at least hit 30 minutes, and I was able to for this podcast. But, I'm kind of just, I'm still learning the whole podcast thing because this is only my 9th episode. And, obviously with time, necessary changes will happen. This podcast, I hope, will evolve in such a way that, it'll evolve for the better. But it has to go through changes in order to find the correct change. I don't know if this is the correct change. Maybe consistency of, the amount of time a podcast is a lot better. Like I know certain podcasts do this, like PKA, for example. They're always 4-hour long podcasts. They do a 4-hour show every single week, and it's pretty much exactly 4 hours every single week. It's never under that, and it's normally never really over that. And, that's really good consistency. But there's also other podcasts that, sometimes only go on for like 30 minutes and sometimes go on for like 2 hours, like the Bill Burr podcast. Sometimes they could be really short and sometimes they could be really long. And I guess that is with this podcast. It's kind of funny too, because Bill Burr podcast, the Monday Morning Podcast, is a solo podcast normally, and the PK podcast is a group podcast. So I guess maybe there's consistency with group. But, that's at least my plan for the future of the podcast. The solo casts will probably only go on for, 30 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes, but could go to an hour. And my guest podcast, I think, will continually be over an hour because those conversations normally go on for a lot longer. They drift off more. It's much more kind of off the cuff. It's not as ordered. But I think people would tend to like and listen to that more. But we'll have to wait and see. Anyways, though, I'm not going to ramble on for too much longer. This podcast has gone on long enough for a solo podcast. So thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, see ya.